Welcome, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Conscious Gatherers. Excuse me, you're here with Terry Palma and my co-host, Bev Thompson, and we have a real treat for you tonight. We've got a special guest that's a dear friend of both Bev and myself that we met years and years and years ago, and he is just doing wonderful things. He's an author. He has 2 books out, a series called Eli Benjamin Bear and the Bear Essentials. He also has bears that go with it. So Hal Price is our guest. And Hal, are you there with us?
Always with you, Terry, no matter where we are.
Hal and I met, years ago, at least 10 or so years ago, in our conscious language class. Now, I've spoke to our audience in the past about conscious language, Bob Stevens and stuff. Hal was in my first class. We met there. We spent a lot of time learning about this stuff, and we became very dear friends. And Hal has really blossomed. In fact, Hal and I had a show, a Blog Talk radio show, where Hal was the actual speaker, and I was kind of his wingman. Hal, what was the name of that show we had on Blog Talk Radio?
We started our show in March of 2010 called Miracles by Design every Wednesday night from 7 until 8 o'clock.
And how long did we run those things?
We ran for 2 years. We had 111 episodes.
Wow. Well, Bev, I guess we have a challenge here on that one, don't we?
111. Love the numerology there.
Exactly. Me too.
Hal, tell us how you went from what we were learning in conscious language and all the metaphysical things that we were doing together and stuff. How did you come into the Eli Benjamin Bear series? Give us a little background of that whole thing, please.
Sure. I think it all starts with a wake-up call. In 2014, I was working way too hard and was working 17-hour days at a job that was taking me nowhere and taking them everywhere. And on the morning of February the 24th at 4:24 in the morning, God grabbed me by the heart and said, "You've got some big choices to make today." And I got up and took my blood pressure. It was 210 over 196, and my arm was throbbing. And I'm like, "Oh, Lord, I'm not done yet. This can't be happening." And but I went and found my will in my house. I lived alone at the time, and just wanted to know where it was. And I left it at my door. And Terry, I turned around to set my will down. And I look, and energetically, I'm like, "Oh, my God, I've just laid my will down." I've done that all my life. I've been what everybody needs me to be for them, but I've never been me for myself. And as I just had that simple awareness of giving myself away to everybody, I realized that my gift of writing was not being used the way it was intended to be. And I think God kind of said to me, "Hal, you can either come with me and take that, inspire somebody else and be a guardian angels for another writer, or you can do it yourself. The choice is yours." And I'm like, "You know what? I think I'll stay here, God." And I drove myself to the emergency room that morning, and the doctors checked me out, and they said, "For a fat guy, you're in pretty good shape." I weighed 360 at the time. I'd lost 120 pounds since then. But I just, I knew it wasn't over for me, but I called in dead to work that day and just told the people I was never coming back. And I went and met with my former boss, and I said, I just told him, I'd known him for 20 years. I said, "Look, you know how much I love you." And he said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "I didn't know until the other day. I love me a whole lot more. I'm going to leave, and you're going to pay me to not work for you for the next year because I've got to get healthy on your dime." And they paid me my old salary and let me stay for another year because I was doing such good work for them. I'd tripled their business in 2 years, and I'd given every part of me away, and I just knew then that there was something better for me. And I took a year off just to get healthy, to meditate, to just put in all the practices, Terry, that you and I had learned over the years of what we should be doing, but I just wasn't mindful to do it for myself in every minute. And I came out to visit a friend in California in 2014, October of that year, and I found this little piece of heaven here, and I decided I was just going to move. I didn't tell anybody I was moving. I just up and moved and started a whole new life, and I would walk in nature. I live a mile from the beach and a mile from the mountains, and I just would walk every day. And God started speaking to me much louder. And every morning at 3 o'clock, I would get up and I would just jot down these little memories that I had from my childhood. And I'll take you into Eli in a second if you want me to keep talking. You know I can ramble, Terry. But
well, keep
that's
going.
It.
You're a storyteller.
Yeah. So, the reason our broadcast stopped, Terry, in 2012 was the night of the harmonic convergence with, where everything aligned on December the 21st of 2012. And that was our last show. I had Bob Stevenson. I had all my top speakers who had come. We had 7 guests on the show that night. And I was going to do that show from Atlanta, but something told me I needed to go to Columbia because my mother was in the Alzheimer's care unit and not doing well. And I went to visit her the night before that show, and she passed away the next day after that our last show 111. And I was remembering I went to visit her the day before her 83rd birthday in June, several months before she passed away. And I sat down with her, and I leaned in to give her a kiss at the Carol Campbell Center in Columbia, South Carolina, actually Lexington. And I leaned in to kiss her, and she knocked the shit out of me. She said, "Who are you, and why are you kissing me?" And in that moment, it was just a huge wake-up call, because if the woman that gave you birth and had known you longer than anybody on the whole planet didn't know who you were, I mean, who am I? If that lady didn't know who I was. And I was just I went home that night to her house, and I was like, I started praying. I'm like, how do I find her? But I told her before I left that night, Terry and Bev, I said, I know you're in there, and you're not leaving me. I know you're in there. And I just prayed, and I went home that night, and I was told to go higher. I'm like, what do you mean go higher? What do you mean go higher? And all of a sudden, I just saw these little bedtime story books. And I went up in the attic, and I found every book, the little golden books that my mom had ever read to me, in a box, along with my bear from 1958 when I was 3 years old, named Eli. So I cleaned Eli up, and I got all those books. And I went back the next day, and I approached Mom, and I didn't identify myself. I just, ma'am, I brought you some good stories that I think you would like to hear. She said, "Oh, I used to read to my little boy when he was with me." I'm like, "Well, good." I said, "Can I have your permission to read these stories?" And as I started reading those little golden books, she mouthed the words to every story she ever read to me, and she was blind. And that was the only memory that really stuck with her that I could find. So we had a series of every day I would go and read a different story for her, and she would recite the stories. Well, as I said, Mom passed away on December the 21st of 2012, and I wanted to honor her, and I just started thinking about the things that I could do, but I just started researching what was that moment where all of a sudden she had perfect awareness of something that was so old. And my research validated that there's a part of the brain, it's called the insula cortex. It's called the brain's heart. It's a place that stores precious memories of music, intonation, sound, cadence, all that stuff. There's a bonding event that's happening in that experience. So, for example, I don't know if she's listening or not, but if you play Build Me Up Buttercup by the Foundation from 1968, I'm kissing Carol Gregory on the beach in South Carolina at Myrtle Beach. It takes you back to a very special moment. Music's more powerful than other things, but in this case, bedtime stories were the link between my mother and her memory with me in that moment. So I knew that there was something really powerful, and that's why I started writing my stories after doing my walking meditation in nature here. And every morning at 3 o'clock, I would wake up and I would just get this download of these little stories about who we are, why we're here, why we're so precious, what we're meant to do, and I turned it into a children's book and chapters. So I wanted to write so that children would have this memory and a bonding moment with the parent. So I wrote it, Terry, for the child in all of us. So the person that reads the story is being activated as is the child that's listening to the story. And I wrote 58 chapters of 3 pages per night. It's 25,800 words of perfect iambic pentameter poetry, and it's called The Adventures of Eli Benjamin Bear, A Heart's Journey Home. And it became an international bestseller, and it's now it won the Mindfulness Award for 2018 of all 1,600 children's authors around the country. And it also it's become a curriculum in the state of South Carolina in 4 school districts right now. It teaches social emotional learning. And I didn't know, Terry, we don't know stuff. We feel things and just feel what's right. I just was writing stories, but come to find out it was something really important for kids to learn social emotional learning. And they've taken my book now and turned it into a curriculum. And my original school where I went to school in St. Andrews, outside of Columbia, South Carolina, at H.B. Rame Elementary School. So that's the journey that the stories took and why. But, my mom inspired it. The insula cortex was, activated in me to be able to write things that would stick with people. And also my research showed me that bedtime stories are dying slowly. The advent of handheld devices, parents will work in 2 jobs or just being one parent or grandparents raising kids, bedtime stories reduce 30% every year because kids go to bed with their handheld devices. They're lit up by EMFs from these 5Gs or 4Gs or whatever they're getting lit up with, and they're not really held, nurtured, have an opportunity to ask questions or to really listen to their parents' hearts while they're having a story read to them, or be connected in a positive way. And I think we're slowly disconnecting ourselves from empathy and compassion because those stories are dying. So it's, I call myself the bedtime story guy because stories have to come back. It's without stories, we have no history without these stories. So that's a big snapshot that saves you from asking me many questions.
That's a fantastic journey. Bev, do you have anything you'd like to ask Hal?
Well, I really appreciate your sharing, as you are sharing, as to the journey that brought you this point, so we can understand our own journeys and our children can understand their journeys to the heart. And it's really remarkable of what you're doing. And our young children, a lot of them are coming in very awake, and this just assists them more and more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that I have 4 grandkids, two from 2 daughters, and both of those families have your books. I mean, I made it a point of view to make sure that I had them and got it to them, and I know they're reading them. And you're right. I mean, I remember I loved my mother reading me bedtime stories.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped me go to sleep. I know with my grandson, with my youngest daughter, he has a difficult going to sleep. He's kind of hyper, and that helps him to go to sleep. It's just soothing and stuff.
Well, listen, and here's another important thing that we're all forgetting. These kids who are so brilliant. I mean, I don't know what they're calling them now. They used to be whatever it was, the indigo kids. What, Beverly, you'll know better than I do. What do they call them now?
I think there's been quite a few. I don't even know what to call it. I don't like to use the term versions, but crystalline versions. Pardon me?
Generation Y?
Well,
I'm talking more from the spiritual level. That these kids are, they're very spiritually aware. So here's my concern, Terry, with what you just said. Not about what you said, but why it's important. Because these children they're confused and they're so bright. They don't fit into our system anymore of, the education system doesn't work for them. None of these things work for them. They already know a lot of this stuff, and they can teach themselves stuff. But they are also very empathetic. And when our country is going through the craziness of fear day after day, broadcast after broadcast, parent after parent's concern, that's feeding this. And if we just gave them a bedtime story just so they can sleep peacefully for a night, or teach them how to meditate or whatever, just to hold them, tell them that you love them, answer their questions honestly, and give them a peace of mind that they're going to be okay. It's really important right now.
Well, and also, let me elaborate a little bit more on your stories and on Eli and the whole bear. These just aren't stories. These are bedtime stories that connect families and generations together, as Hal talked about with his mother. They also help children to write and tell their own stories when they hear there's a way to do that. And that's through the author in residence program that you've got going, that you mentioned in South Carolina with the elementary schools.
Yeah.
And it's also stories that empower kindness and mindfulness. I mean, those are, and like you said, the children, the young children today, they know about that. They already came in, and it's helping them remember that to be kindness and mindfulness in this time of chaos and craziness.
Absolutely. Terry, thanks for mentioning that. You triggered me again for another little quick story. But the first thing that I did I now have 10 international best-selling books. 8 of those are self-help books for adults. But I decided I was missing the curve. If you need self-help from me by the time I'm 65 and, you're still reading my books, we're in trouble as a planet. I wanted to go lower. But I also wrote it for people who are 65 so they can remember how precious they are. But and I might read you one little small chapter before we close up. I'm not sure if we have time to do it. But here was my point, Terry. I knew that I couldn't write a story called A Heart's Journey Home without me taking my own trip back to where I grew up and the people that made me who I was, my school teachers, my churches, my political people, my neighbors. So I went back to Columbia, South Carolina back in October of 2018 when this Heart's Journey Home book launched. And I went to my elementary school just to ask permission to read in the library and leave several books for them. But it turned into a relationship, and I have an app that allows my bear and my raccoon, who are the characters in the book, to talk to kids. So I actually created a video. I went down for literacy night, and I attended literacy night. I wasn't really invited, but I wanted to go to meet the parents and the grandparents. And 484 kids in that school for pre-K to 5th grade, and only 17 people showed up, and they were all grandmothers who were looking to get out of the house for the night because they were tired of taking care of the kids, and they got free snacks and Kool-Aid for the evening. So nobody took any of the handouts home. And what I did was I took all the handouts and I said, what do these kids really need to know? So I set up in their library that night with my book in front of my character, Eli, my plush bear and my plush raccoon. And I had them sitting in their library, and Eli was telling Rascal Roy how to read. He was teaching him how to read. He says, these are 4 things you need to learn. You're going to be embarrassed tomorrow when these kids come in and they can read better than you can, Rascal. You need to learn these 4 things. Find a book you like, sit in a comfortable place, ask questions, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. You can use your finger if you need to read, whatever it is. So anyway, I spent 4 days at the school, and I got a call from the literacy coach there at the school. And she said, who are you and where did you come from? I said, my name is Hal Price, and I grew up a block from your school. That's my elementary school, and I care about these kids. And she said, I don't know what you did, but we quizzed them on 7 literacy questions. And 97% of our kids, and we're ranked almost last in the country. South Carolina's not doing well, but this little school is doing worse than anybody in the state. And they just said they got 97% of the answers that Eli Benjamin Bear taught them. We want to have a relationship with you and Eli to come to the school and work with us. So I came back, and the principal, Monica Carter, asked me. I was with the guidance counselor, with the art teacher, with the librarian, and the literacy coach. And they said, if you could do anything here, what would you do? I said, I would teach self-confidence. They said, how would you do that? I said, I was 64 before I wrote my first book. I would like every child here to create, concept, write, illustrate, and publish their own books before they get to middle school. Because if they can be published authors, that's something, So we put together an author-in-residence program with that school for 5 days. And I came in and we wrote a book about kindness, the power of kindness over bullying. And they all participated. They illustrated. I wrote the poem that went in the book, but I taught them how to think about books, how to imagine books, how to illustrate the books and to make it powerful, and how to have it, the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell. What's the arc of a story? How does it have to follow, along? And we published. Those kids had a book published 4 weeks after I left, and and they would call me on Skype just to talk, so I could stay connected with the kids. And that's a program that I'm really anxious and excited to roll out in the state of South Carolina, especially. I've got some great testimonials about all that. And so that's something that I would rather, Terry, what I've learned now is I'd rather help a child write and publish their own book than me write another book for a while. It's just, it does something to them. It does something to them.
So that brings up something here. Bev has a great listening audience, and we're going to publish this recording that we have with you. Because you never know when you're 1 degree away from that person that can connect you to what your mission and goal is. So who out there, what are you looking for to help your dream of author in residence manifest? That one person, who would that be? What does that person look like? They might be listening right now.
It would be an administrator, a district supervisor, someone who has budget-making decisions for many schools. It can go through a principal, but it's going to have to keep moving up. I'm not sure who that person is, but it could be a principal. It could be a district supervisor for literacy. It could be, I'm not sure who that is. But those are the people. Those are the doors that I would like to have opened, and I know I can close them with that person.
Fantastic.
We've got great, hey Terry, we've got great testimonials from the principal, from the guidance counselor, from the art teacher, from the students about the difference that this little project made in their lives. And now they're putting that book up online so their grandparents and family and relatives can buy as a fundraiser for the school. So. And also, it comes with my whole kindness program, where I basically give the school several Eli Benjamin Bears and several of my books to put in the library. There's a special kindness section in the library that they've started, and they put their book that they wrote on kindness in there. So I have these little random act of kindness cards that all the teachers are given to give to all the students, and if they catch one of their peers doing something nice, they sign the card and write their name at the top and give it to the child. And at the end of the week, they can have a drawing in the classroom or the grade, however they choose. And that person gets to go to the library, take Eli Benjamin Bear home with them and the book on kindness that we all wrote together, and to write their own story, what they did together that was kind that weekend, and bring it back, and we can publish those. So we're building a kindness section authored by the students in the school there.
Well, I can imagine what those children will feel like 10 years from now when they're, in high school or graduating high school, and saying, I'm a co-author of a storybook that I wrote in elementary school.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They take their confidence with them.
Absolutely.
And they learn their unique gifts. I think you even said that. So it's a win-win-win program.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Tell us how our listening audience can get a hold of you, get a hold of your books, in case they're 1 degree from that person that could make things happen for children in their community. give us some contact information that you're comfortable with giving, and then we'll
Absolutely.
pass that on, and Bev will put it in the notes that go out in email also.
Sure. A couple of things. And the easiest way to get the most information is to go to our website. And that website address is www.eli, B-E-A-R, stories, stories.com. And if you want a secret, I'll give you one secret. I have another one coming up. But I've created a very special, it's a lifetime membership for people. But when they buy a bear, they get a lifetime membership card. But I'm going to give it to your listeners here on the thing. And you can share it. I don't care. And what I've done is there's a special section where they can go and get my audiobooks for free to listen to the books, so they're not having to buy the books if they choose not to. So they can listen to A Heart's Journey Home, read by me, and they can listen to the Bear Essentials. So let me delineate for just a second on those two books so you know. The Heart's Journey Home is a chapter book for kids who are probably 6 to 12, okay? And it's 60 nights of reading a chapter that gives powerful, mindful information and high consciousness, okay? The chapters that did the best for me in that chapter book, I've turned into children's books that are just full color, illustrated by a Walt Disney artist that I've worked with named Michael Bayou. And we've created that second book from Chapter 4 called The Bear Essentials. And I've had time, I'll read you The Bear Essentials before we close. But that big book has a lot of little books coming out of it. And this is just volume 1 of the big book. I'm going to have 6 volumes that tracks Eli's lifespan and all the journeys that his heart took him on from the time he's born prematurely, which is his heart wasn't formed when he was born, all the way through later ages as a wise old bear. So anyway, that's what's going on.
Well,
and
what I'd like you to do then, as we close out the session, I would love for you to read what you wanted to read to us for our audience.
Absolutely. Let me give you 2 more contact pieces there.
Sure.
My cell phone number, if you need, I take all calls, is 678-575-4688. My email address is Hal, H-A-L, Price, P-R-I-C-E, at EliBearStories.com. And I'm also, the other secret that I have to give you the passcode to get into that site. That's where I was. If you go to www.EliBearStories.com/members, it's not a drop-down. This is a secret site, and it'll show you where my ideas came from to write these books. I take you behind the curtain for all my original ideas and my original sketches and stuff. It also lets you listen to the audio versions of the books that I'm talking about tonight, which are both international best-selling books in 6 countries right now. And so let me give you that. Let me give you the passcode to that secret site, okay? When you go to EliBearStories.com/members and you type in all caps the passcode, this is your passcode, Eli Bear 2019, all caps, capital ELIBEAR, and then 2019. It'll take you into a lifetime membership. So every book that I ever create from now on will have its own audiobook, and you have permission to listen to that book. And there's also videos, and there's games, and there's coloring pages that you can download. It'd be great for this time of being shut in to be able just to go to that site and pull stuff up to be able to do fun things with Eli Benjamin Bear.
Fantastic. Now, I can't wait. Read.
Okay. We do have some listeners, too, and they may have a couple questions for you.
Well, let's ask. Let's see if there are any questions. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. If you can unmute yourself and ask any question of Hal right now.
No questions, really. Just thank you for taking the time to share with us tonight, and you shouldn't have given out your cell phone number. So my name's Lee, and I'll be calling you.
Lee, I can't wait to hear from you. Good deal.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Lee.
your time. Uh-huh.
Anybody else?
Oh, it's all yours, Hal.
Go ahead.
Okay, so here's the setup for this little poem. Eli is born prematurely and taken from his mom to a human hospital 600 miles away to have his heart fixed. He's the fuzziest thing in the hospital with all these children. He doesn't speak their language, and his parents can't come because they weigh 600 pounds each. So he's isolated like so many of these kids are now. So this poem is a poem that his grandfather gave to his mom before Eli was born to give to him when the time was right. But this is the poem that he's given. It's called The Bare Essentials, okay? Be who you are and know yourself. Pretenders are not real. Say what you mean and don't hold back. Express the way you feel. When you know yourself, you can't be lost, and your life will take you far. The key is being true to you and remembering who you are. Respect all life, it's here for you, and trust your heart to guide. Know love surrounds you every day. It never leaves your side. Be still and quiet. You're not alone. And in your stillness hear the whispers of a wise, sweet voice who cares for you, my dear. Please laugh and sing out every day your joy expressed in sound and fill the hearts of those you love. They're blessed when you're around. Remember, every word and thought creates the world you'll see. And say, I love you every day, and say it joyfully. Remember, you are special, child, and have a precious gift. And when you bring your gift to serve, the hearts you touch will lift. There's no one else like you, my child. You are stardust made from love. Appreciate the life you have and thank your stars above. I promise you can change the world. Allow your feelings to be felt and trust the wisdom of your heart to let you be yourself. One final message for your heart, its power will ring true. I believe in you with all my heart. Now you believe in you. The Bare Essentials.
Wow.
Love it. How come I'm all teary-eyed?
It's meant to really, it reaches on a very, I wrote this book like in parables, Bev, so that wherever you are in consciousness, you get a very different message.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and not only does it touch the child where they are, it'll touch the adult who's reading it to them.
That was my purpose. I just see the most connected yet disconnected generation being raised right now, and we can do anything, but we don't stay in the heart. We don't spend the quality time. So in my version, I think right now we're the parasite on the planet, and God's saying, let's put everything back to neutral for a little bit, for a while. Y'all need to know each other and leave my animals alone for a while. Quit polluting the air with the planes and stuff. Sometimes we're the parasite, and we got to clean things up. But kids need to be held, told they're loved, questions answered. Let them know they can ask any question of their parents. So this other book that you'll hear about, which is called The Bare Essentials. When I just read that poem, I turned it into a full-color animated book that is really doing well. And that book is really for 3 to 6 or 7-year-old children. But it's very powerful. And there's an exercise in the very back of that book, Beverly, that takes the kids to another place on my website where Eli asks, he learns to listen to his heart, and his heart starts talking to him in this book. So there's the last 2 pages says, now that Eli has learned to listen to his heart, you can listen to yours. So we give them the questions that Eli asked his heart. I've got like 30 questions, and they can go to elibearstories.com/myheartsquestions and ask their own hearts the questions that Eli's asking his heart and talk to their parents about his heart's questions.
Well, Hal, I tell you, I'm even more overwhelmed with what you've done, since we've met, and I'm in awe.
I am too. Wow, thank you.
And it's perfect for our listeners, because we've been talking about, know yourself, love yourself.
Right.
So your message tonight is just right on, and I hope that people will go get your books, give it to everybody they know, share the stuff, and if you know somebody that can help Hal accomplish his dream to bring this to, that's definitely necessary and needed in our elementary educational program throughout the United States and the world, please reach out and do that, and we'll all be blessed.
And Terry, the last thing in terms of educators, it can be charter schools, it can be private schools, it can be public schools. I don't really care. Right now, it's homeschools by parents who don't know how to homeschool. Is what's happening. Yeah. But what I've also done is I've created another secret link on my website that when the right person comes along, they can order my materials in bulk at a half price, my books, my bears, and all that stuff to bring into larger groups. So we're making an investment. And my last thing is, as I was working with the administrators in South Carolina, one of the things that I was just paying attention to is you guys are losing teachers right and left. Your turnover is every 5 years. You lost 11% of your workforce last year just to people who couldn't take it anymore. So we've created a workshop called Teacherhood, Exploring the Joy of Teaching Again, that we were supposed to have it on March the 28th at the Adventure Museum down in Columbia, but because of the virus, we've moved it back. But we're going to teach teachers how to tap away fears, how to do the passion test, to find out how to stay connected with their passions, and teach the children how to connect to their passions that they love and forget once they get farther up there and they just move into the automation of getting a job and getting in debt and working 60 years to get out of it. Yeah. So I'm trying to do, like a 360 program from the children to the parents to the grandparents to the teachers to the schools. We're just trying to provide a lot of ammunition for them to be better and remember that their hearts know the answers and not let all this fear swallow them up.
Right. Well, we'll have you back again for sure, and you stay in touch with us. So if there's something timely that you would like to get to our listening audience that they might be able to participate in or learn there's an event, we'll have you on so you can get that information to them timely. From the bottom of Beverly's heart and my heart, I want to thank you for sharing everything you've done. You've really made this probably, one of our best programs.
Honored to be with you guys again. You guys are my soul brother and sister. You know that. So,
thank you so much.
Well, for Bev and myself and Hal, we want to thank you all for being with us for another session of Conscious Gatherers. Until next Tuesday night at 7 p.m., be kind, be mindful, be safe. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.